Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Good evening and welcome to Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson. It's February 21st and I'm joined by my co-host, and she needs to turn her sound on.
Turned it on. I turned it on. This is Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Good evening, everyone.
And thank you for joining us for another episode of the show. So we have a wonderful lineup tonight. We have 2 books to give away, and we have a couple of other announcements, but we don't want to delay. We're going to start the first guest in about 30 seconds. The only thing I want to mention is the National Black Book Festival registrations are open. If you want to get in on the early bird rate, it ends March 31st. So just keep that in mind because the time goes by quickly and the signups are very robust. So you want to make sure you get at least your deposit in so you can be guaranteed a spot. So our lineup tonight, our first guest is a bookstore owner. His name is Derek Tompkins. And he's part owner of a bookstore called Kindred Thoughts Bookstore in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And we welcome him. Oh, he has his partner with him too. So welcome to Black Authors Matter TV. And if you can unmute your mic, so we can hear you, we can see you.
All right, there we go.
Okay. Good evening and welcome to the show.
Good evening.
Thank you.
And can you remind us of the name of your partner?
Yes, so this is
Karen Smith.
Okay, Karen Smith. And so when you fill out the form, you only had Derek's name. So, but we're happy to have you both there, especially since you're partners. And it looks like you're at the store.
Yes, we are.
Okay. Okay. So for one, I wanted to kind of surprise Rhonda, my co-host, by letting her know that if my information is correct, Derek, you're a Sigma. Is that correct?
Absolutely. You got it.
Okay.
Oh, yes. I love it.
And the reason I know that is
I can go home now? No.
when we posted the flyer, some of your frat brothers were reposting and sharing it and saying,
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that you were a Sigma. So I said, well, I'm going to wait until tell Ron on the show. So,
Yeah,
tell us how long Kindred Thoughts has been open in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
How long we been open? Well, we're going on our 3rd year. As a actual brick and mortar, it's 2 years. 2 years.
Okay, so you all opened during COVID.
That was COVID. Actually, was the startup, so to speak. We started as a book club, and from there we morphed into an online presence, and then we started doing local vending events like Juneteenth, and people were like, "We want a bookstore," and so we obliged.
Was that a I mean, I know that wasn't an easy decision. I mean, it's one thing to open a business. It's another thing to open a bookstore when so many people think that bookstores are dying, and that everybody's ordering from Amazon or Barnes and Noble now. So what went into that thought process of this is something that we need to do?
Well, one, it was a lifelong dream to have a bookstore, a Black bookstore. Derek and I are both from Bridgeport, and we had 2 stores, at least in our history, here in Bridgeport, but we hadn't had a store of any kind, a bookstore of any kind, in a couple of decades. And, we're the largest in terms of population in the state. So we felt, well, there should be a bookstore here, and then why not us? So, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously it was definitely a passion for books, because you don't go into the books business and think this is going to be my ticket.
Right.
Ticket to retirement, right?
No. So
Right.
it definitely was a passion for the both of us.
Well, as a brick and mortar bookstore owner for 10 years, not now, but from 2000 to 2010. So we had our bookstore during the heyday. And it still was challenging. So I tell people, if you're going to do it, you don't go into books. You don't go into African-American books, I'll say, to get rich. If people think that you're getting rich or whatever, it's a passion.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
It's definitely a passion. And we like telling people that is our niche, our specialization, but just so we can try to keep our doors open.
Right.
We actually allow people to order, books from all different genres, but we have a lot of people that come from, in Bridgeport, where it's situated, we're surrounded by, we're in the middle of Fairfield County, so there are some very wealthy suburbs, and without description, those folks come and visit us too, and sometimes they have to have a lesson before they take it down and realize that we're a business that's open for anyone. If you want to learn something, here's a chance to learn.
So when you had your book club, were you all in the book club together?
Yes. So we hosted the book club. It's our first book actually was Kamala Harris's The Truths We Hold or Told. Or
you can see the impact it had on us. And
well, it's been a while.
And the reason we chose that book was because Vice President Biden at the time was not yet elected, had selected her as his vice president in terms of being the running mate. And so we wanted to learn a little bit more about her. And we were still sort of in, quarantine lockdown. So we thought, again, have the book club via Zoom. Let's see who turns up. We had quite a few people show up, and they really expressed an interest in, moving forward. Are you going to do this again? That type of thing. So once again, we were led by the people. We started to host them quarterly. And again, posting them out on Eventbrite and other social media platforms, we were able to extend beyond our own, personal friends and family, our own community. And we've had people from all over the country. We've even had someone dial in who was an expat and lived in South Korea. Nice. And so, obviously we all know the reach of, social media and online platforms. So we were able to leverage that and parlay that into where we are today.
Awesome. So now, how often do you do the book club? And then the next question is, how do you choose the books that you want to highlight? Since we've been here at this location, we haven't done as many online book discussions, but we do more in person, of course, trying to bring people into the store. So monthly, we have a story time for children, and that's the fourth Saturday of every month. And so we read a book, and we actually have little arts and crafts, something that correlates back to the story. And how we choose the book is basically, sometimes it's driven by, the month itself. And if there's anything special about that month, like Black History Month, we chose something last month for January. We did a book on Dr. Martin Luther King. So, we do the story time, and then we've been doing what we call reading the classics, because we find, especially in social media, people want to quote Baldwin, Morrison, so on and so forth, but they've never actually read the books, or they've read them and have been challenged by the content. And so we have our very own cultural historian,
who does a great job at sort of unpacking the text and helping to facilitate a very rich discussion. And those are quarterly. The first one was James Baldwin, The Fire Next Time. Just this past Saturday, we did Beloved. And thank goodness that she
See, these books sound like heavy hitters. And see, you know what's happening is somebody's saying, well, I just became an author yesterday. I guess they'll never choose my book.
Well, that's not true, because we do other books as well. So we're doing Black Cake in April. We've done again,
we've done Harlem Shuffle.
So they are sort of well-known authors, but we also take recommendations. So if people have someone and they want us to feature their book, of course, we would read it first.
I would hope you would read it. Don't tell people to read a book that's not what I've written.
we would read it first. We make some of those rookie mistakes early on, and but we would definitely read it first and then move forward. But like I said, we choose the books based upon sometimes what's going on with the calendar, other books that we know people have an interest in. We read Viola Davis's book and just absolutely loved it. We read Fannie Lou Hamer during Women's History Month. So again, it just sort of depends on what the focus is.
So and we've done things like The Warmth Above the Sun by Isabel Wilkerson. So we had some deep dives into other books, and some things that are coming on the horizons, like we thought about doing The Vanishing Half, which definitely was for fiction. It opened up some discussion in areas that we tend not to really think about. And of course, my favorite book of the year is, and I'm waiting for it to get the okay to do this, is The Love Song of W.E.B. Du Bois, which that's my book.
Okay. Now, who's the author of that?
That was Honore Jeffers. And so she was a poet. So this is her first novel. And what makes it special is it's over 800 pages. But she does a generational story that I'm telling you, the skill is almost that of I'm not going to say she's a Morrison, but she definitely is Morrison-esque in how she writes. So it's something definitely, if you haven't read it, I recommend it. I probably got about 20 people that have picked it up because people overlook it when they see its size. So.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, to write 800 pages, I don't know how many words that is. I'm going to say if 300 is 50,000, then that means 800 is a lot. So
well, I know I've written 100,000 page book before, or at least close to it, and that was over 300 pages. So an 800 page, that's probably got to be what, 300,000 words.
Yeah. So you think about it this way: for that big of a page, for me to read it, and I usually do 3 books at a month, so that's my pace. Doing this book kept drawing me back, and I'm saying it goes through some sensitive subject matter, but I tell you what, you're there just you want more, and she does a great job keep drawing you back. So
and one of the ways to facilitate a discussion around a book that large, and we've done them before, is to have the discussion span a few weeks. So people
break
just
it
have
down
to be
in parts.
right. You have to be just as committed to the weekly discussions as you were to actually finishing the book, and we find that people are. If it's engaging enough, people stick with it, and then if you can offer a rich discussion, people will they'll show up. So
yeah, our book club did that with Barack Obama's book,
and that was a long book too.
That was a long,
like 700 pages.
But let's not even talk about Bill Clinton's book. His book was over 800 pages, I believe. In fact, wasn't his book even longer than that?
I didn't read that one.
Yeah, I thought his book was almost 1,000 pages.
Might have been.
well, I know I didn't.
Yeah, I know I wouldn't.
But we each took a section, the book club, because I think President Obama's book was like in parts, like 4 parts or 5 parts. So people took different parts because not everybody read the whole book. So,
Right.
and I think I stopped. See, I read his other books, so I felt like I didn't need to read the part I had already knew about. So I don't remember where I left off, but I didn't read it cover to cover because I had read his other two books, which really were detailed about his earlier years.
Right, right. Yeah.
So are you all both avid readers?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that's important for a bookstore because you need to know what people might want to read, like making recommendations to your customers.
Absolutely.
And that's important. Now, how is the bookstore doing? From a traffic standpoint and just from a business standpoint.
Well, for us, and we just moved into this location in October. So prior to this, we were in what I would call a incubation type space.
Very quaint.
Very quaint.
Okay.
That just means small. However,
Wait a minute, let these folks pay and then you
then
can
I'll
come.
come in after.
Oh, okay. That's
But-
okay.
Yes.
But I tell you, through that space, we developed a community, but it was hard to get to us. You really had to purpose yourself to come to us because we weren't on the first floor. We were in an old factory building, so people had to actually be very purposeful to get to us. They usually took about 3 phone calls to locate us. Once they got on the campus, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but once they knew where you were, then they knew where you were. So
Right.
So since we moved here, there's definitely a different flow of traffic and our community moved over here with us. A lot of them were going, ooh, thank you for being on the first floor. But they actually, and they started even spreading the word more. So we actually, I have no complaints. I mean, it's actually been fun because now we can see its potential versus, and we're looking to grow out of this space at that point.
And we would be remiss if we didn't say that we were blessed and that there was a feature done by CBS Sunday News where we were interviewed and it was aired on Christmas Day. And so we have had an overwhelming response since then, I would say nationwide. And we actually had someone come visit us from Maryland who saw us on the Sunday, yeah, and we've had people send us books. Even though
well, that's what people do.
But they wanted to support
Authors
us
do that.
however best they could, especially with us being a Black bookstore. So we've definitely seen an increase in uptick in traffic based upon being blessed in that way. So it was surely a blessing for us as a new bookstore.
Yeah, free publicity is always great, and
especially national publicity.
Yeah, and that was how we found out about you. I didn't see it on the news. I saw the article about you being on the news.
Oh,
So I get alerts. I get Google alerts. So because of anything on African American bookstores, literature, book clubs, anything having to do with African American books. I get daily alerts. So I got one of the alerts I got had you all in it. And it had a clip of the interview. In fact, that's where I had to get your photo from. I don't know if you knew that.
Where'd she glean that from?
Yeah. You didn't send the photo. So I said, okay, let me pause this, then cut it.
You did a great job. I just want to say.
I had to get it just the right.
You got rid of this part.
But that's great that you all got that.
Gwen will find a photo when she needs a photo. Trust that.
I do find I have to sometimes, because our flyer has to have a photo on it. So however best that sometimes we get them on the form and sometimes we don't. So you have to be just industrious. So I had another. Oh, what are some of the challenges that you found with being bookstore owners?
Where do we begin?
You probably have ones that are similar to other bookstore owners, but
well, first of all, never having known bookstore, a bookstore before, just learning that about the bookstore mafia out there.
The bookstore mafia. Oh
I
my.
say that, I just say that jokingly because of it is definitely, it's a different type industry. It's not, just a buy and sell type business where you got inventory, first of all, is just enormous, and picking and choosing. And when you're starting off as a small bookstore, you may not have the capital to kind of just say, okay, we're going to fill a room with and let the distributor send us what they think, is us. And we try to define ourselves more than have someone else define us.
Right.
So that was, for us was kind of a hit and miss, but we caught on. It took a minute, but we caught on. And so that part was kind of, that it was fun in doing it, but it was frustrating a lot during the beginning of that. And then marketing ourselves as we want to be seen, because let's just be honest, people hear Black bookstore, there are people that will narrow us, and we're like, no, we're full service. This is just our specialty. And
Right.
this is, and I always tell people the story of me going to our local B&N bookstore, and I had to order books because they didn't carry the author I was looking for. So this is just my version of how I would like it to be. So you can come on in, you want to see James Patterson, I'll order it for you. If it's not on the shelf, which it probably may be, but no. So
yeah, on the one hand, it can be quite irritating. I know, just for us having the show and then also having an event, the National Black Book Festival, then I'll have someone who's not Black, I'll just say, post a comment or DM me, or most of the time they post a comment. It's like a hit and run, but
Right.
they'll say, well, where's the National White Book Festival?
People always say that, and it kills
or
me.
they'll say, do white authors matter? Okay,
Yeah.
so clearly you don't understand the difference between something that's cultural and something, it's a cultural space. That's one. But number two, all those other festivals are the white book festivals.
Right, exactly.
They might have one or two, Black authors, and you have to be like the A-list person to even be considered. And other than that, but they think that's inclusive. If they have one or two Black authors out of 100, they call that inclusive. Okay, we call it excluding. That's really what it is. So, but I think they really know it, but it's like being snarky,
Right, because for some of them, once they find out that it's a Black owned anything, they're not going to shop us anyway. So that's just their way of being antagonistic. Right. But for social media, I just opt not to respond. We're so busy, doing so many other things to keep the business operational. It's like, I don't have time to argue with you. And I'm also just not going to show myself as argumentative in front of other customers or potential customers. So we just let those comments live, and that's it.
I haven't gotten to the
point
because I banned them. When they do that, I don't even say anything. I just ban them because I don't want them coming back saying anything else. And I'm not going to be doing whack-a-mole,
Right. I mean, we haven't had any that have been extreme thus far, but trust,
we had some that tried to challenge us. And I'm one that I am pretty quick to respond. So I do have to kind of bridle my tongue.
You're the one who has to bite your tongue because you know you're going to say something.
I know I'm going to say something, but I'm not the cool person here, obviously. So
I just keep it moving. I don't have time.
I do not have time.
Is this something though that you kind of expected because you're in Connecticut? Is there a large Black presence in
Bridgeport?
In Bridgeport, yes.
Mm-hmm.
However, I would say one of the challenges for us has also been engaging our community. The majority of our customers are not Black, quite honestly. So if we're calling them allies, then I would say the majority of our customers are allies. So you do have those that, you know, they love us, they show up on social media, they show up to the events. You know, we are thankful for them too. But this is a predominantly Black city, although we have some gentrification that's happening because we're about an hour north of New York. So when COVID hit, it was, you know, let's move into a community. We have homes where, you know, they can buy at a fraction of the cost than what it would cost even in Westchester County. So again, we've seen an influx and we've seen things shifting here. Not necessarily shifting in our direction or for our betterment or good, but we're making do with, you know, what we can while, you know, the getting is good here in this city because we waited a minute for, you know, just things to happen here. So again, it's been a mix. It's been a mix of trying to engage our community, being welcoming to those that come through the door, and we are, because we're, you know, we're friendly people. We have people that come and sit here, you know, for hours. You would think that we don't get customers, and even when we do, they're still talking, and we're trying to tend to customers, and they're still chatting away. And you know, but we do like it because we want to make sure that we create an atmosphere where people feel like this is a community bookstore, where, you know, it's you know, fertile ground for good conversation. And hopefully in that, while they're here for an hour, so they see a book on the shelf that they might also want to walk out the door with. So, you know, we try to be accommodating to everybody, but we've not had anybody actually walk in and sort of be negative to what we have here.
Well, that's a good thing.
And the few that did have hesitation, usually after a conversation, they kind of see our vision and they kind of come in a little bit differently. I mean, like I said, I've had to tell the story about Barnes and Noble about a dozen times, just so they can understand my mindset and see how we look at this. And they're like, gotcha, and, you know, proceed. Because if you look into our, like, mainly our children's section, I would have to say is 99.9% books of Black authors. And you know, this is young children, and people always ask, well, where's the
Dr. Seuss or something?
And my feeling has been, I said, you know, I was born in 62, not to tell my age, but I just
Do the math.
but I remember my mother reading me The Snowy Day. And it was the only book that had someone that looked like me and my family. So at that point, you know, and that wasn't even written by a person of color. So that book to me represented a lot. And, you know, and it was, I tell this story to people and I say, listen, it was a story. I had to insert myself into other stories because there just wasn't any about someone that looked like me. So it's okay. So having people and trying to let them understand, it's a mindset on how you approach this. Don't come in here and judge it because the faces don't look like yours. Because trust me, I had over 60 years of having to deal with that. So,
I mean, we've read books for our whole lives that didn't have us on the covers.
absolutely.
So if people are intimidated.
My favorite books growing up were the Sweet Valley High series and the Judy Blume books. They were not a whole lot of young adult books with faces like mine on them.
Right.
Right.
So why are people intimidated when we want our faces on books? It's you know, who that's stupid. You know, some stuff is not even worth having a discussion about because you're just being willfully dumb. And you know that it matters because it would matter to you if you only had books with Black faces and you were a white person. If you couldn't find any books that had a white face on the cover and you were a white person, that would not be good, acceptable. So
and so when you see where we're at in this country, where there's people actually moving to ban books, especially books that have stories about us and our culture and that that takes that changes the whole idea of what's going on and how we are going to respond. So, for us, our response is we're going to bring in more. We
There
want-
you go.
And
Well,
when we can, we're gonna
unfortunately,
give books away, that
Yes.
way,
Right.
especially to, college age children or, those that just don't have the ability to pay for them themselves. We want to make sure that we're helping to tell the stories and that we keep, our authors' names, top of mind for people, especially those that matter. And again, that's another reason why we do the Reading the Classic series, because we want to make sure that, great authors like James Baldwin and Toni Morrison and, everybody else, that they continue to live on. Maya, exactly. Nikki G, I mean, she's still with us, but that these names live on well past us, and they deserve to. I mean, we hear horror stories of, kids who don't know who Martin Luther King is. For a while that was the only person, when you had to do a book report, that's who we had to write about, and now they're not even talking about him. So it's incumbent upon us as Black people to ensure that we continue to talk about our ancestors, talk about our elders, and just keep our history alive.
amen. Well, unfortunately, we have come to the end of the interview. I know it always goes by so fast. It really does. But just really quickly, if you can just remind our audience where they can find your store and how they can connect with you. And then also let them know what's the next book chat going to be.
Sure.
Okay.
So again, it's Kindred Thoughts Bookstore. We're located at 1001 Main Street, Suite 8, Bridgeport, Connecticut. And we're downtown. And as far as online, you can reach us at kindredthoughts.shop. So it's .shop. And you can reach us on social at Kindred Thoughts and Kindred Thoughts Bookstore, one or the other for Instagram and Facebook.
Wonderful.
And there was another question. And our next read is
the
going to
next
be
book.
Black Cake, which is a great story about a West Indian family that grew up, their parents pass away, the brother and sister are trying to make amends of their strained relationship, and then the parents die, but the mother leaves them with some things about their family that changes how they saw themselves. So this book it's a great read, and I think
It's not so heavy like some of the others that we've done.
But it's a great read because it shows how sometimes it makes us question what we do know about our family and when we have to deal with the truth and what it took for our family to be where it's at. So,
well, I just downloaded it onto my Audible.
All right.
So I might have to join y'all for that conversation.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll make sure
Okay.
that we zoom that.
Thank you all for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having
this was a fun
us.
interview.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much
much.
for being guests on the show.
You're welcome.
Absolutely.
All right. Have a great night. Thank you.
You
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I love it.
Okay, it's time for our next interview. However, I do need to tell you all about these books. So we're giving away 2 books tonight. This
Yes.
one is Blindsided by Trice Hickman, and we'll do the trivia after this next interview. So I just want to tell people the books. Blindsided by Trice Hickman, and this is an arc. It's called Where the Black Flowers Bloom, and it's by Ronald L. Smith. So we'll be giving that away. And we'll do it after this interview because we're already running a little bit over our time. And as I had mentioned to those who watch the show, in the month of February, we like to bring people on that we haven't heard from in a while. And we have had several guests that fit that criteria, but this is our last one for the month of people who is like an update. Where are they now kind of thing for Black History Month. And so we have Eric P., a best-selling author, on, and I've known Eric for many years. I haven't seen him in many years though.
I haven't seen him either,
So,
Gwen. I don't know what he's been
It's
doing.
gonna be at least 10, I think, years. So we are excited to have Eric P. on Black Authors Matter TV. Welcome.
Hello. First
Hello,
off,
hello,
thank you.
hello.
Thank you so much for having me. It has been a minute. Something I wanted to hit on that your last guest had brought up, that really brought something to mind when you mentioned how the majority population sometimes has no understanding of the need for another viewpoint in terms of books, TV shows, etc., and have a thin skin, sometimes get ruffled when why is there a need for that? It takes me back to the job I was with for the longest period of time. While I was in the middle of writing, I worked in insurance, one of the large companies. They had I guess, a seminar for their leadership, for diversity, for their leadership to kind of get a better feel for what other races, ethnicities go through. The problem was they didn't have enough people of color in leadership. So they needed another Black male body to fill in. So I attended it. And in that thing, you really got a chance to kind of see some of the differences where oftentimes we have a majority population, pretty much everything that's mainstream is the default.
Yeah.
And they don't realize it that, all of us growing up, we've had to, we know all the same TV shows, the books and everything that mainstream society reads and watches, but there's a whole world beyond that. And sometimes it creates difficulties for people when they don't understand why there would be a need for that. Because if it's not there, those voices will get drowned out. There will be those that will break through, but our country is what it is because of its diversity and the different perspectives and things like that. So that was just something that was kind of really resonating with me when you were speaking about that with your last guest, and how, people contact you. Why is there not, white this and this? Is like, well, because it's already there.
Yeah, it's already there.
Right,
It's
exactly.
the default. It's just the word isn't in the title, but that doesn't mean it's not what it is.
The assumption's already there.
Well, that's what I was going to
default
say. The
is-
unfortunate thing is if you say something like an American classic, all people's minds are not going to go to a book that was written by an African American.
right. That's
I
right.
remember when I went to modeling school back when I was a teenager, the all-American look was blonde hair and blue eyes. And I'm sitting here like, I have blonde hair and blue eyes. So I guess I wasn't an
But
all-American.
what does that make you? Not you're not all
Exactly.
American. You are just as American, maybe more American than some of the people they were talking about.
Exactly.
And
And
you
so
see how
this
that
is why we make these spaces so that African Americans can have a voice, because when the default is not us.
And you see that how that has an impact on even other cultures, where oftentimes if someone that came from a Hispanic culture or was new to America, when they say American, what they mean is white. When they say someone's American, they're white. It's automatically that default. They don't consider any other color or anything being American. They may consider it, but they don't. In the translation, American is always just that.
Right.
So it's, it
It's
is
the
what
world
it
we live
is.
in, and we have to make our own spaces. We can't wait for other people to do it, because they won't. And even if they do it for a minute, like in the midst of some sort of crucible or some event or crisis, they'll do it for a few months, and then they'll, it's like the dust will settle, like it's like a
Now we can
tsunami.
go back to what we really wanted to deal with.
Yeah, let's get back to normal. Then that means you're excluded again. So if we don't create our own spaces and make it intentional and professional and everything that people are looking for, because people they want something that's meaningful and professional and has a standard. And so we have to do that. We can't wait for other people to do it. They won't, because they won't. They'll do it
it's
for a
not meant to be
minute and then it'll be
offensive.
gone.
Right.
It's not meant to be offensive or to offend anyone. And no one should really take offense to that.
No, it's affirming, not offensive. It's validation. It's celebration. And we should be able to do that for ourselves.
Absolutely. I love
So
that.
Eric, tell us what you've been doing for the last so many years. The last time I remember seeing you, now this may not be the last time, because I see so many people, I forget the last time I saw them, but the last time I remember seeing you was when we had a book thing for Carl Weber at our office building.
Mhm.
And you came with him because you co-wrote the book. Was it the
Family business.
family business, the first one? Did you?
Yes, family
Okay.
I
business
remember
and To
that.
Paris with Love, and
Right.
that helped
Okay. So
launch
and that
everything.
we had a book signing for him at our office, and you were with him. That's the last time I remember seeing you. Do you think
Also
that was the
after
last
that,
time?
no, there was one of your book festivals after that as well. But yeah,
Mhm.
when we came by that time with Carl, we were touring in support of the book that I'd helped create with the characters and everything.
Right. Okay. So that's been 10 years. I
I
mean,
mean,
because
Well,
yeah,
I think
it's
it's been a little bit longer for me. The last time I saw you, we did a book signing, I believe, in Boston. And I
wow.
think that was a little bit longer than 10 years ago.
yeah, that was on tour in Boston. Yeah, I got a nice welcome in Boston from some of the locals.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
we all go way back in this
Mhm.
same space. And you were writing by yourself before you were
Mhm.
writing with Carl, because you had some books. And I think you came to our bookstore. Didn't you come to the bookstore more at least
Yeah.
once, maybe more than once, to do a book signing or some book presentation? So when you were first getting started, and now where are you living now? Because you were in Houston. Then you go
I'm
somewhere else.
I moved a little bit further north, but I'm still in the metropolitan area.
Oh, okay. You're still in Houston Metro, but you were somewhere else for a while, weren't you? What?
At the time when I first started, I was living in New Orleans for 12 years.
Oh,
Okay.
you were in New Orleans for 12 years?
Yep.
That's my hometown.
Yep. Well, we
Man.
we were we were West Bankers.
Oh, okay, okay.
I don't
But
know if you count. I don't know if you would count us.
I still kind of count y'all, but you West Bangers don't like to count us. That's what it is.
No, you might be thinking about Metairie or the North Shore.
I,
Keeping it real, that might be what you're talking about.
no, I think we might have switched places though. I think when you were living in New Orleans, I was still in the military because I didn't move back to New Orleans until the end of 2016.
Wow. Okay. Yes,
Yeah.
I think you were still doing that. Yeah, we started off in New Orleans with the books, just kind of not on a whim because I've always had those voices that have talked to me since I was a little bitty kid. They still talk to me. They need to be a little bit louder, which is another reason I've been kind of dropped off. Other things have kind of taken priorities in the world in general. But that's kind of what got me started was finally giving into the voices and my wife's insistence, not knowing where it was going to take me. And one thing kind of led to another, and had a rich career, I'd say, going about 15, 16 years of pounding the pavement, still working the full-time job. So pretty much juggling two full-time jobs, so being a
Yeah.
husband and a father,
Mhm.
which can take a lot out of you.
Well, yeah, those are the priorities.
Yes.
And they support us creatives and allow us to shine when we do. So what have you been doing in the as far as writing? Did you totally discontinue your writing, or where are
Um,
you with that now? But I also want to find out about the books that you and Carl wrote together. So tell us what you're doing now first.
right now, just focusing on a day job, being a grandfather. We just moved, making sure I'm, spending time with the missus, etc. Haven't fully disconnected from the writing. It's still there. I still got probably 91 pages of a book I'd started. The problem that I ran into was that the world, I don't know if it changed, but the world revealed itself a little bit. I'm primarily a fiction writer, and I've prided myself on being able to come up with these stories with kind of sometimes dark characters who have these wild adventures, especially more toward my more recent books, more on that kind of thriller action side. And then the world kind of changed with the presidential election, and you start seeing a lot of changes going on in the world. I'm like, I can write some wild things in fiction, but what's going on in the world right now is pretty mind-blowing, and how quickly the tone in our country changed, in terms of just how we deal with one another, everything, even going to the insurrection.
I was
So
sitting
kind of
right in this spot when that happened. When the insurrection happened, I was sitting right in the same spot, looking at the TV, just shaking my head. It was crazy to watch.
And so I think a lot of that affected me creatively. I'm thinking like, I can come up with some wild stuff, but what's going on in the world is just so, it was shaking, in terms of kind of what I wanted to do, but also making sure that I'm, providing for my family, doing all of that. So it didn't get totally put on the back burner, but as I'm doing some of these words, I'm going, I'm in a different place now than what I was when I first started. And when I was first started, I was in my 30s, now I'm in my 50s. And so I need to kind of get a feel for exactly what I want to do. The book that I was working on that I had not finished was kind of almost like a sequel prequel to A Cold Hard Truth, my last full novel that was released. But in it, there was a lot of violence. And, I watch things like John Wick, things like that. It doesn't really faze me. But at the same time as I'm trying to write it, I'm seeing all these school shootings. And all those things are kind of affecting me a little bit. Like,
Do you really want
reality is,
to dwell on that too? Because when you write, you have to focus. Then you have to focus on details when you're writing fiction. And, some details you really don't want to take to heart, put in your spirit. And I don't even know if I don't really read those kind of books. I like a good mystery, but I don't need the gore,
Mhm. Yeah. So
and I
that,
definitely don't like to read things where children are harmed.
Yeah,
That's just,
yeah.
some of the popular shows, and I'm not going to say the names because I'm not disparaging any shows, but there were some of the shows that had gotten very popular in 2020, 2021 were really bloody, and I couldn't sit through them. And everybody was talking about how good they were, and I couldn't watch it. And there was one series that I watched, and there's this one scene. Every time I think about that series, I think about this specific scene, and it stays with me. So I don't even like to talk about it. So I do understand that, the world just was kind of going in a different direction, and it puts you in a place that's hard to get out of sometimes.
Yes. Yeah. That was primarily is like, am I really feeling what I'm doing, seeing what's going out there where the reality is worse than the fiction? And so that kind of makes you want to figure out where you want to go with things, where, currently right now, I don't really want to say I'm working on stuff, because usually people go, okay, well, when's it coming out? I can't say when things are going to come out, but I'm looking at maybe even doing a little bit of screenplay writing, things like that, some other avenues for that creativity. It's still there. It's just that with everything that started happening in the world and it changing, and then also the pandemic, and just seeing, friends, family members passing away, sometimes related to the pandemic, sometimes related to age, all those things kind of affect you. I think what initially started with me probably was when my mother passed. I was in the middle of writing one of the family business books with Carl. And in the course of writing that, I'm on deadline for the book, but I'm sitting in the ICU with my mom and having to try to compartmentalize. That can affect you and mess with you. And I think that's when things kind of start maybe changing with me a little bit in terms of the amount of time I devoted to certain things versus making sure that I'm there for family and loved ones as well, not just, burning the candle on both ends, which I did, which I think pretty successfully for years and years and years, but just making sure that I'm creating good memories there as a, husband, cousin, nephew, grandfather, things like that. So
Yeah,
just kind of
it's those things do affect your writing and just, I know my very first book that I wrote, I was so excited about it. Man, I had, talked to my brother at the time, the course of writing my book, my brother contracted pancreatic cancer. And the day after my book came out with the publisher, I had the day after I had my actual book in hand, my brother passed. And so I didn't even get a chance to promote it because I was just like, I was so devastated because it happened so fast. Pancreatic cancer is very rapid. And, by the time you really get to wrap your mind around the fact that they have it, they're gone. It's very quick. So losing a loved one is difficult, period. But when you're trying to be creative in the midst of that, it's almost impossible. Because you just don't have the energy to do it,
Yeah, they can take a lot out of you. They're also around that, probably at the same time, the day job was demanding more and more of me. So having to, at the end of the day, how much energy you have left, you got to.
Right. And you don't want
to. You were supposed to quit
Get
your
right back.
job. You were supposed to quit your job and dedicate yourself solely to writing. That's what you were supposed to do. And I'm very disappointed.
I know. But they had the little thing called benefits and things.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's why a lot of authors keep their day jobs, even the ones who have good advances, and they're really at the top of their game. Those benefits, insurance is very expensive. Absolutely. And then if you have to have your family in it, then it's really expensive. And it's just easier to do it at night or whatever, work around, do a workaround and have the security. And then you have the 501k, 401k. I'm thinking of 501c3.
That's why I thought you were going. I'm like, I remember him saying that.
401k. I'm not in corporate. I'm
the other one,
but I know about it. So I do want to. We don't have that much time left, but I do want to find out because I know the family business, when you all were doing those books and you all did the other one, the Paris one. Just tell us what, I know you were doing a lot of traveling and all that with those books, and they made the New York Times bestseller list. I don't know if all of them did, but I know the family business did. So just tell us about that period and how that was.
Amazing. But what really kind of, I guess, brought me more to their attention was Crushed Ice, my novel I did with where I created the character Truth. And my editor at the time was Carl's wife, Martha. And so I think she came across Crushed Ice. That's when she said, I think I have the author that would work well with you, Carl, in terms of collaboration.
Okay.
So my agent approached me, mentioned it to me, and then we kind of got together and met clandestinely here in Houston. It was actually during one of your festivals is downtown. We met in the lobby of the hotel.
Oh, okay. When we used to have it in the hotels. We haven't been in hotels. Yeah. See, this is year 16. The first 5 years were so the first 2 were at the George R. Brown, and then the 3 after that were at hotels downtown. So it was one of those. And I think Carl was a featured author at one of them. So okay.
That's when we got together. Yeah, okay. We were sitting in the lobby like we were just hanging out, and people would walk by, go, hey, and then it was like brainstorming, scribbling down notes, trying to see if it would work with the two of us in terms of the characters and stuff, and then taking an outline and just breathing life into these characters and bouncing stuff off one another and the characters' personalities, their traits, things such as that. So we put the family business together, wrote it and handed it off to Carl, did some of his tweaks to it, came back, and just created the baby. And we toured around the country in support of it. And we found out we were in Dallas at a book signing when he broke the news to me that we hit New York Times bestseller list.
Nice.
So,
Yeah, that's
it's-
something you remember. That's like you remember, where you were at when certain things happen. So you remember where you were when you hit the New York Times bestseller list. I would remember too. Because that's major. That's a major thing. It's not a lot of authors make that list, but even fewer Black authors make that list. I mean, that's really a big deal.
it's definitely one of those moments in the whole journey. I hold it almost as equally as high as holding my very first book real for me in my hands. When it came, that truck dropped those pallet of books, and I had them in the garage, and you starting to figure out how you're going to sign the books, what you're going to say. My handwriting's ugly. What I'm going to do, autographing it and filling orders and all that. Back in the day of Walmart parking lots, putting flyers on windshields until security comes out and tells you, "Sir, you can't do that." Rondell's doing that in Algiers at the Walmart, by the way.
Okay. Hey, when you're hustling, when your hustle's on,
right, you have to do what you have to do.
You have to do what you have to do.
I'm blessed. It's sad, a lot of the familiar names that we started in this business with or idolize, how Airdrome Dickey it's passed on, Elin, just over time. But that energy and that vibe of when you're first starting and getting out there, just it never leaves you. It never leaves you. There will be something at some point coming out from me, but like I said, no promise, because I can't say. The voices are always still there talking, like they were from when I was 9 years old. Some nights they're louder than others. But now that we've kind of situated and gotten moved into our home and everything, I'm getting my space comfortable to where I can get back in that creative state, because I'm a night owl. That's when those voices are loudest for me. From like 9 p.m. to like 3 o'clock in the morning is when.
Yes.
That's when I write.
And when it's there.
And plus it's quiet. The world's buzzing all day before 9 o'clock. After about 9, the world settles down and it's not, the energy is low.
Yes.
And so that's when I can write uninterrupted. That's when my flow is. So
yeah,
but some people are like early in the morning. For some people they get up at 4 or 5 and they do. But I've never been a morning person in my life, even as a baby. And so I don't have any thoughts early in the morning, like nothing comes to my mind.
Usually that time is when I was going to sleep and having to get about 3 or 4 hours in before I got to work the day job.
Sometimes it was like 2 hours before I had to get up and go to the day job.
Yep.
Yeah. So but not creative thoughts. Well, Eric, it was really a pleasure seeing you again and getting caught up on things that you're doing. And I'll be in agreement with you that those thoughts in your head are going to get on the paper or in the keyboard on your laptop.
I agree.
And because we love the reading public will love to hear from you again and see what your thoughts are and see what kind of story you're going to tell us.
I have a notepad near me where I've scrolled some ideas right in the process, right before we got ready to move into the new house. So I've got some things, some ideas that feels kind of like the good old days where those little ideas are jumping around. So I just gotta stick with it and get it out there. Whether it's going to be book or screenplay, I'm still not sure. Book is easy for me because that's my default, going to the novel. Screenplay is something that I've tried to dabble with, but I probably need to do it again, because I think this would probably be a fun one. And that's all I'll say.
Well, I tell you, we need your voice back in this industry. So when you're ready, we welcome you back. And you just have one of those voices. If you pop up and say, I have a book coming out in a month, everybody's going to get excited. You don't even have to tell them what it's about. So we need voices like yours in the industry. And it was really good, really, really good to see you again. And thank you for just motivating and inspiring so many authors to keep doing what they're doing.
Haven't said it in a minute, but can't stop, won't stop. Believe that.
Okay, take care, and thank you so much for being a guest on the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Good night.
All right.
Okay, so we need to quickly do these books as our next guest is in the waiting room. So, okay, for Blindsided by Trice Hickman, the question is, this book features 3 female friends. What is the full name of the makeup artist among the 3? So the full name of the makeup artist is one of the female friends featured in the book, or Blindsided by Trice Hickman. And this book is called Where the Black Flowers Bloom, and it's a fantasy. The main characters, Asha and Obo, live in which imaginary land? What's the name of the imaginary land they live in? So if you get the answers, and Rhonda's going to put it in the chat, so you'll see the questions, and whoever's first will get their copy of the book. So our next guest is a multi-talented individual. He's an actor, and he's also an author. He's a writer, he's a producer, and he's can be seen on screen in A Journal for Jordan, which is directed by Denzel Washington. And I want to say his name right, Marchant Davis. Is the T silent? Oh.
Yeah. It's Marchant.
Okay, all right, Marchant. Okay, Davis. Welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
And congratulations on the release of your book, A Boy and His Mirror, which I think is beautifully illustrated. I think that cover, it just says it all. So before we talk about the book, I'd like to hear about your acting and writing and producing and all of that you're doing, and where people who and I haven't seen a Journal for Jordan, although that's one of the ones, you know how you look at stuff and you say, you know what, I need to watch that. It sounds like it's interesting. So tell us a little bit about your acting career and how you got started with that.
Sure. I moved to New York almost 10 years ago now. 10 years ago, as of August of this year, I moved here for graduate school at NYU grad acting for acting.
Okay.
To get my MFA. And I've been here ever since. I've been working on Broadway, on and off Broadway. Recently wrapped a show called Ain't No Mo that was produced by Lee Daniels. And before, I was in a show called The Great Society, where I played Stokely Carmichael and John Lewis. And
great roles you've been getting.
Yeah.
You played Stokely and John Lewis in the same play?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
And upcoming, I'm going to be in a play called Goodnight Oscar, which is at the same theater that Ain't No Mo was in, the Belasco Theater, in April of this year. And I've been in a number of films. The Journal for Jordan is one of them, and The Day Shall Come was my first feature film, where I played the lead in Chris Morris's second feature. Chris Morris is a BAFTA award-winning director, along with Jesse Armstrong, who is the showrunner for Succession on HBO. So you might know the show, you might not. I know
I've seen it. I haven't seen the whole thing, but I've seen enough. I know.
Yeah. And upcoming, I was in. I'm a little jet lagged. You got to forgive me because I just got back from Berlin.
Oh yeah, you're jet lagged, all right.
I just got back like this morning.
Berlin is incredible though, isn't it?
Oh my God, it's so beautiful. I've been there once before, about 8 years ago, and I was there for the Berlin Film Festival for the world premiere of a film that I just did called Reality, based off the real life FBI transcripts of Reality Winner. You know, Reality Winner was the individual who gave the information to the Intercept about the FBI, about the Russians interfering with the 2016 election. And so that'll, I mean, it just premiered at Berlin, and I can't say where, but it'll be here in the States doing some of the film festivals very soon, that starred Sydney Sweeney, myself, and Josh Hamilton. And and now I'm here. I'm back home.
I have to say that A Journal for Jordan is a special movie to me because I actually knew First Sergeant King. I was in the Army. And yes, I knew him when he was a sergeant first class stationed at Fort Knox. And
Are you serious?
yes, and he was an amazing artist. And a lot of his work is still on display on different military bases.
Yes, it is.
And I remember I was public affairs in the Army. So, you know, we did the newspapers and we did an article on him and his art.
Mm-hmm.
And and they actually named one of the theaters in Fort Knox after one of the soldiers that he drew, Reuben Rivers. Wow. And then they also named a building at Fort Hood after Reuben Rivers. And they have a big portrait of his art in that building. And so one day I was just thinking about it. I was like, I wonder whatever happened to that guy that had that great art. And I just decided to Google his name. And that's when I found out that he had passed. And I was so hurt. So I was really happy to see the movie.
You do know Dana? Have you read the book?
I was actually sent the book by a good friend of mine. He sent me the book, but I never actually knew her. So I was really happy to see that there was a book, that a book was published and that a movie was created from the book.
Well, we're here talking about books. You know, Dana is probably still the current president of Simon Schuster.
Wow, I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, just a little nod for you there. Dana Kennedy. Yes, she wrote the. I'm just about to give a plug to Dana Kennedy for all you. She wrote a beautiful book. Do I have it here? I do have it here.
That name sounds familiar.
She wrote a beautiful book, Journal for Jordan.
Okay.
Which is the film that I was in with Michael B. Jordan, Shantae Adams, Tamara Tooney playing my mother, Robert Wisdom. Yes, she wrote a beautiful book based off the journal that Charles Monroe King wrote to his son that he never actually got to meet.
Right.
Yeah.
So y'all gonna make me watch this movie as soon as I get up. Because I had been saying, you know, I need to watch it and watch it. So I'm gonna do it as soon as I get
Tissues with you though.
What?
I said bring some tissues with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's a sad movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful story. Jalen is fantastic, the young man who plays Jordan, and Shantae, and y'all know who Michael B. Jordan is, and you'll see my face.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, I play Mike Kennedy. So I play Dana, who is the author. I play her brother in the film.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a beautiful. The book is. I mean, you read the first chapter and you're gonna be in tears. I lie to you not.
Okay.
It's a beautiful book. I'm so shocked that it was like sitting right there.
Well,
That's crazy.
Great.
Yeah.
So tell us how you thought about what made you do a children's book called The Boy in the Mirror?
A Boy in His Mirror. Yeah, A Boy in His Mirror. You know, I got made fun of when I was in like high school because my hair, because I decided to grow out my hair. My hair made me, I'm laughing because I'm remembering what kids would say. People used to call me Slave Shant in high school because my hair was so big and nappy. And so I wanted to make a book that sort of lived by the statement, we all feel so we can heal, you know? I repurposed some of the images we know, which is like Snow White and the relationship she has with her mirror, to create a book about a boy and the wonderful relationship he has with his. Yeah, that woman right there.
Beautiful beautiful illustration.
Yes, it's the Katoria Abobo, New York Times bestseller for the book I Am Enough. She's fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that's sort of like what was the impetus for making me want to write this book. You know, I've always thought that children's media is like there's a lot of power in what we're able to accomplish in children's media, and I think it's so important, and especially now, as we see so many books being banned.
For the silliest reasons. Oh my goodness.
You know,
It seems to be arbitrary, a lot of it.
You know, I did an interview recently with Word in Black, and they asked me that question. I was a little stumped. They were like, "So what would you say to them?" And I was like, "What would I say to people banning books? I just want to know why." Like, I don't think any book should ever be banned, no matter the content. I actually believe that, because I think what makes us powerful is our curiosity and our variety. And so, like, what message are we sending to young readers, old reader, any reader, if we're banning books? What are we saying about knowledge and information?
Well, it's true.
Right.
More information is better than lack of information. I mean,
Right. Well, the other part is, if you don't agree with the language or the message that's in a book, or that your child is reading, then that's when we as parents say, give them that other message. And I want you to know a little bit more about this, or do your own research so you can learn more about it. So that way you're not just going by one piece of information. There's just so many different ways that we can counteract that.
I actually think what you're saying is so powerful. Like, if there's a message in a book that doesn't sit well with you, then I think there's an opportunity for conversation as opposed to denial. Like, I think we play a very dangerous game when we sort of shut out information and pretend that it doesn't exist.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We can't do that.
Yeah, the other element of it, though, is unfortunate, and that is that a lot of parents do not engage with their children as far as reading materials. It might even be the majority. I don't know. A lot of parents they're not involved in their children's education directly. They don't go over their homework with them. They don't, read books to them. Like some parents will read books to their children. In fact, I read to my daughter when she was still in the womb. I was reading because I wanted her to hear my voice. But a lot of parents don't do that. It's unfortunate, but then it may be the people we know in our circle, like the people we know.
Yeah, well, I think my aim and my goal is probably to help change that in any way that I can.
It's a lot of parents who are not engaged with their children's education in any way, shape, or form. They really are expecting the teachers to do everything, and so they're not engaged, and that's really unfortunate. And it's probably disproportionate in our community, I would say. And this is coming from teachers, so that I know, friends of mine who are teachers. So, but we need more information, not less. And I read everything I could get my hands on when I was growing up. A lot of what I was reading, my parents didn't know I was reading. I spent a lot of time in the library, and so people who want to read can find ways to read, but we'll see how things transpire. I think the information will still get out. And in fact, when a book is banned, it increases the sales. Really,
That's
it actually
true.
has.
So yeah, ban the books. Ban the books. They're gonna buy them anyway.
That it may.
Ban this book if you want. Let's increase the sales.
Yes, exactly. No, but I think that you hit the nail on the head, though. Instead of banning the book, open up conversation, open up knowledge, because these books saying, I don't want my child to feel bad about herself or himself by reading this book, then this is your time. This is your chance to have a conversation with that child so they don't feel bad. But you can't hide the information thinking that everything's going to be okay. So I'm totally with you on that.
And imagine how the people, if they're talking about what happened to our ancestors, imagine how they felt. They felt bad. So why should you be excluded from whatever the feelings are from whatever happened? Why should you go unscathed from knowing what happened to other people at the hands of your ancestors. I mean, don't be weak. You know, you have to own up to what has transpired, because all of that has led us to where we are right now.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
you know, we can't pretend like it didn't happen, because if it didn't, we wouldn't be here. It's in here, you know. So, but like I say, the banned books, the sales go through the roof. So, you know, that's one, it's 6 to 1, half a dozen, you know. It is unfortunate, but if people, probably more people are reading them because they're banned.
Yeah.
True.
So now tell us about, you have some things coming up. You have something coming up at the Children's Museum in Manhattan.
Yes,
Your
this
book.
weekend, Black Future Month.
Now, is that a new play on words? Is that, instead of Black History Month, is that like a new,
Black
I've been hearing
Future
that more. I've been hearing that
Month.
more and more.
What does it mean to you? When, what it mean to you?
What does Black Future Month mean to me?
Yeah, tell me what Black Future Month mean to you, Gwen.
That means we are the future.
Yeah, okay.
Well, it means we write our future. We decide what the future is, not someone
Yes.
else. So
Yeah.
we are in control. We're totally in control of our future. And we need to own that. We need to embrace it, that we are in control of our future, not anyone else.
Yes. So
We're
as a
in
wrap up
control.
this month, yeah, I have the privilege of heading to the Children's Museum of Manhattan. I live here in Brooklyn, New York, to be specific. The Children's Museum is up on like, oh, I'm about to lie to you. I don't want to get to lying, but it's up on the Upper West Side. And we have a couple sessions planned with some kids there, and I get to sit down and interact in relationship to this thing that I made.
Now, how did that come about? How did you end up doing a children's book? Like, you were acting, you're in plays, you're doing,
And then all of a
writing
sudden
and
you say, I'm
producing,
gonna
and
write
all
a
of a
children's
sudden,
book.
yeah, all of a sudden you did this
I
children's
don't think anything in the world happens all of a sudden. I think there are
Okay.
seeds planted through time, and those seeds grow.
Mhm.
Okay.
And so because I've been so blessed to be able to plant seeds and watch them grow, that yeah. And so that it happened because it's not the first thing I've written. Let me just start there.
Okay.
It's the first thing that I've written that somebody's decided to publish. It happened because I've always wanted it to happen. I'm a firm believer in, if I see it, I can believe it. And I've always seen into my future in a way that other people might not have. And so I always had a dream of being a children's book writer. I think, like I said earlier, I think there's power in children's media and the information we pour into our young people. And I knew that I wanted to enter that realm. And so after my first film, I think just to be fully transparent, the way it like really happened is I was switching agencies, and my manager we were sitting down at lunch, and she was like, you should start writing. And I was like, should start writing? I've been writing. And I was like, and she was like, what have you been writing? And so I showed her some things I've been writing, and and one of those things was A Boy in His Mirror. And I read it to her at a cafe in Beverly Hills, and she loved it. And she was like, shucks, wow. I mean, she didn't say shucks. Shucks is something I said. But she was like, wow. She was like, that's beautiful. And I was like, yeah, I think it's okay. It's something that has sat on my heart for a while, and I would like to share it at some point. Everything that sits on my heart isn't shared, but this is something that I would love to share. And so it was during a meeting that we were having where she pulled it out. And I was like, I kind of looked over to her like, what you doing? Like, what are you doing right now? And that sort of spurred back in like 2018, the creation of, I'm gonna keep bringing this up because I want all
No,
you
we
viewers
want you to
see it,
show it.
A
Mhm.
Boy and His Mirror. And so the management company I'm with, they linked me with the books department because I'm repped across the board. And so we sat down and had a meeting, and then they shopped it around, and then we found I don't know if you can see it because it's really small, but one of the great
Yes.
editors, Nancy Paulson over at Penguin Random House. Nancy is
Okay.
fantastic. She's fantastic. She's also the editor on a book called Hands. If you guys seen by what's his name, Tory. He's a Brooklyn. He's a New York based. Let me just say that author. He's fantastic. I just love the cover of his book. It's called Hands, and then there's on the lower half of the page. It's like, what will you do with them? And there's a young man writing. If you guys can find his book, I would encourage you to go check it out. But yeah, Nancy believed in what I was on my heart, and so she was like, let's make it. And over some time we went through the editing process, and we did. And then it came time to find an illustrator, and she was like, here's some options that I think. And I'd like, when I was dreaming in my mom's living room in Philly, I was like, oh, these are illustrators that I would love to have do my first book, A Boy in His Mirror. And one of those illustrators was Katoria Abobo. Another one was, I can say it now because I met him for the first time in Philadelphia last weekend, Frank Morrison. Do you guys know who that is?
I've heard that
Yes,
name.
yes.
Yeah, Frank
He
Morrison.
had calendars every year. It's
Yeah.
beautiful work.
I must say, I know I know that name.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
a huge illustrator. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
love his art and I
Yeah.
love his books. I got to meet him last week and he's fantastic. But it was him and Katoria were illustrators that I would like, that's the dream right there. Like what I saw and what they did, I was like, that is what I think this could look like, and that's the feel I think this could be. I mean, they're both very different, and I ended up going with Katoria because I thought it was very important to have a female voice, a Black female voice in the space, because there throughout the book are so many Black women that sort of love Chris into being, and I just thought it really important to have that energy in creating this thing and bringing it to life.
Beautiful.
Well, I want to congratulate you on not only doing the book, but also we need more Black men in the children's book space because they need to see that Black men read, write, and that you don't have to be a basketball player or,
Oh, you mean
to be
hoop
great,
dreams?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's more than just hoop dreams.
Yeah.
Yes. Football
So,
player.
and there's not like people talk about the lack of Black male teachers in elementary schools. It's a very low percentage of Black male teachers at the K-5 level. And so they need to see, because a lot of the children in schools, they don't have active fathers. Some of them don't have active fathers. So it's important for them to see Black men really succeeding at something intellectual.
Right.
So they know that they can use their minds and have a future.
It's possible.
Yes.
It's possible. If you see it, it's
Yeah.
possible.
Yes. So what's next for you?
Like I said before, I will be at the Children's Museum this weekend, this Saturday at 2, from like 2 to 4. I don't know if I mentioned it, but I'll be in the upcoming Broadway production of Goodnight Oscar. Of course, the film that I just did, Reality, will be making its way through the film festivals, and you'll see that sometime in the fall or sometime this year before the next award season, because Miss Sydney Sweeney is the star and she's done a fantastic job along with the rest of the cast. And Yeah, and I mean, I'll be making the rounds with this bad boy. I think I have a few readings here, and
Coming to Maryland?
what'd you say?
Yeah, are you coming to Maryland or
I
to the
can
DMV?
I can come to Maryland. Well, you, I can come ever when I'm invited. I'm not from there, so like invitation.
Oh, okay. I'm hearing you speaking it into existence. I like when
Yeah,
you
I'm not
put
from there, but I
emphasis
welcome
on certain words while you're speaking.
Yeah, invitations are great. I love invitations because invitations sort of invite things to happen. You know, I love when we invite things to happen. Yeah, I would love to come to the DMV. I actually might be there soon checking out some friends' shows. So maybe it might be nice to like stop into some Black-owned bookstores down there. Do you guys know any?
I've never heard of them, but I did hear that there's one store called Mahogany Books.
I've heard, I'm not even gonna write it down because I've heard of Mahogany
No,
Books as well.
I'm kidding. Yeah, Mahogany Books is a great bookstore. She has 2 locations. She's actually my sorority sister, the lady who owns it. Yeah.
Oh, shucks. Well, we need to you need to get information because I will be in the DMV seeing a friend's show, so I can stop in and sign some books, sign some for some kids.
Okay.
I know how special it is to have a signed book from the author. So I can stop in and sign some books, make sure we have some copies down there at Mahogany Book.
Absolutely. I'll reach out to you so you can get the information.
Yes,
And
please.
then also, when is your show? Because I like to get up to New York and see some Broadway shows.
Yes, we start previews April 7th. We open April 25th, and we run until the end of August. So
Wonderful.
August,
So we have time.
Yeah, you got plenty of time.
Okay.
I'm in Texas, so I'm not in the DMV.
No, you're not in the Broadway scene, but
I used to
there's
live
a
in
book.
the DMV a long time ago.
there's a wonderful book
Well,
that you can tell all your viewers, your friends, your cousins, your enemies, your child,
I think he might need to be at the National Black Book Festival, Gwen.
well, we can talk about that. You know, you said it publicly, but I was thinking it, and we'll talk about it.
You know,
So.
I love when we invite things to happen because invitations really allow for so much more. You know, when we invite things into our lives, we really manifest them to happen. So I love inviting things.
Are you a minister in your other life?
Oh, no. Oh. No, but those are all the things that I have coming. Yeah, those are the things that I have coming up. We should connect offline, maybe with Jordana at Penguin about Mahogany Books, because when I'm down there, I would love to get in there and sign some books for some kids, and just even if I just stop in the store and sign and go about my day, just let them know that it's there. You know, it's very important.
Okay.
I've heard a number of great things about Mahogany Books, specifically because I was in Philly last weekend at the African American Book Festival.
The children's one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there were a number of authors who were talking about Mahogany Books specifically. So thank you for putting that back in my radar and inviting that back into my life.
I do what I can.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Marchant, we really enjoyed having you. You gave us a lot of food for thought, as well as plans for the future.
Yeah, the future, Black future.
The Black future.
Yeah, we in Black future, but now you know what it means. See, before you was asking questions, and now you're an expert. Amen.
Things happen.
Yes.
All right, have a great evening. Thank you so much for being a guest on the show, and continue with your book.
Yes.
And your acting career and everything.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Have a great night. Thank you.
Too. Take care.
Okay, so we need to give away this. Did anybody win the books?
Nobody won it. I'm just kidding.
Okay, who won Blindsided? Who got the answer for that?
Shoot. Mary Evans won one, and Stephanie won the other one.
Okay, so
Stephanie won the Black Flowers Bloom. Where the Black Flowers Bloom.
Okay, Stephanie. Okay.
Yeah, and Mary won
And Mary won the other.
Blindsided.
Okay. Mary. Okay. All right. These will be in the mail. A couple of housekeeping notes before we bring on our final guest. I wanted to let people know the Black Authors Matter TV Awards will be, they're coming up. So the last show that includes the awards for the nominations is the March 7th show. And then the voting will start March 21st. The award show is on May 16th. So there's some other milestones in there, but those are the main ones. And then our book club kickback, which is on March 14th, we're reading The House of Eve by Sadika Johnson. She'll be on there. So if your book club hasn't signed up, please do. And we're giving away 3 autographed copies of the book on the show like we do for our kickbacks. So that's something that we do for all of the kickbacks. And is that it? I think that's it. So now we are bringing on our final guest. And she has I don't know if it's a blog or a chat group, or I'm not sure exactly how to describe it, but she goes by the name Shay Baby, and she has the Brown Book Series, which focuses on African-American romance writers. And she is a radio personality. She's done a lot with public speaking. She's also done some acting, and we welcome her to Black Authors Matter TV.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Awesome.
Now tell the audience, what is the Brown Book Series? What exactly it is?
The Brown Book Series is a digital television show, a platform where we interview award-winning New York Times, USA Today, and Wall Street Journal best-selling author, published, unpublished, or you want to think about writing, come over here and talk to us. Just a platform for authors, editors, agents. We just want to know all things publishing. So we invite everybody over to hang out with us.
You've developed quite a following as well. 64,000 followers I'm seeing.
Ain't God good, girl?
All the time.
Now, when did you launch it?
Brown Book Series we launched in March of 2020.
Okay, right at the pandemic, right
at the pandemic. It was crazy because I always knew I wanted to do it because I come from radio and TV, but I wanted to have a platform where I can merge my day life with my night life, if that makes sense. So I wanted to merge my media broadcasting skills with my hobbies and my love for romance. So I was like, you know what? It's time to do it. And it's crazy because we launched it right before the pandemic. Beverly Jenkins was our first guest. Okay. And we're located in Boston. So she came to Boston. I'm like, okay, we're gonna start with you. She's like, okay, let's go. And I think it was like that weekend.
That's when everything shut down.
All hell broke loose. I was like, yes. And that's when we went to virtual because it was supposed to be an in-person thing. And
okay.
Yeah. But it was good. It worked out. It was wonderful.
Well, what do you think it is that draws your listeners? I mean, because, developing a following, and it's an author show. Yes. So what is it that keeps people coming back? Let's give us a day in the life of your show.
Oh my God, a day in the life of my girl. I'll listen. I'm with the shenanigans. Everybody that knows me know. I'm not gonna cuss, but the BS is on full display.
You're not doing some Wendy Williams-esque interviews, are you over there?
It's a mix between Wendy, Ellen, and Oprah. It's what I'm saying.
What kind of?
It is, and that's how I want it to be. So on our show, we talk to the author. I want to know everything about the author. I'm nosy. So I'm telling you. So I'm talking about. I want to know what their day is like. We play games, we play games like you have to tell us, I'll give you a passage or a synopsis or a character from one of your books, and you got to name that book. So you get the authors on there like, oh my God. And that,
I know they get it wrong, don't they?
Girl, some of them do. Some of them do. I know my stuff, let go. Then someone will be like, oh my God. And I'll be like, girl, who wrote this book for you? But, and they love, and it gets the audience involved too, because they be in the comments like, no, Shay, that's not the one. I'm like, I'm not the author. I'm gonna this. So it's fun like that. And then we're going to another game called Who'd You Rather. You know, you can let us know who you want to sleep with. So it's just like a lot of right. Okay.
Do they answer?
Yeah, girl, they answer.
They do. Oh, okay.
We ask a lot of different questions, and I think sometimes I ask the questions that some people don't want to ask. Like nothing like, vulgar, but I might be like, yo, like I asked Sherelle Green, she's an awesome author and I love her to death. And I asked her something like, girl, what's the craziest thing you and your husband done did? You know what I'm saying?
That doesn't have anything to do with the book, Shay, baby.
Huh?
That doesn't have anything to do with the book.
Listen, I'm just trying to see what kind of books they writing over there in private. You know what I mean?
Look, Antoine Smith said, sis.
It brings a lot of people to the platform because they just want to know, what are we going to say, what we're going to talk about. The authors, they're so transparent over there. They're just honest and open. And I think some of them, sometimes they'll come back and be like, oh my God, Shay, did we record it or was that live? I'll be like, honey, we recorded it. And it's like I love it because they feel like they're talking to a friend.
Mm-hmm.
So girl, they be saying, I'll be like, girl, we can't air that. It's just fun over there, just all shenanigans. We get serious sometimes, but not really. Just all fun. We talk about all the books, not just that book, that in particular book. We talk about everything because sometimes, a person might not be feeling that particular book that's on the shelf right now. And I'm like, well, you don't have to get that one. I need to come on before that or the one after that, so.
Okay, you mean of that author?
Yeah, of the author.
It could be a backlist one.
Yeah.
So where do you do your show from?
I am in Boston.
But do you do it on Zoom or a Zoom type platform?
No, StreamYard. We do StreamYard and we air on YouTube.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. Where do you project to?
Okay, got you. Yeah, we we on YouTube every Wednesday night at 7:00 Eastern Standard Time.
I'm gonna have to watch this show and see these shenanigans you speak of.
I'm upset that you have not watched my show anyway. Like, girl, get it together.
Look, I will be there. I will be there tomorrow night. How's that?
You tomorrow night. Yes, be there. We have
how long is your show?
It's an hour.
Okay.
It's an hour. Yeah.
And you focus on a particular author each week?
Yes. Each week we have different authors. And it's cool. We try to promote it a week before, maybe 2 weeks before. We have listed on our website the upcoming authors. But I can only do one. Listen, y'all good. Y'all are great. So you see, y'all professionals. Y'all are professionals. Like, I lose control when it's more than one author. I can't. We just had the evening with the BJs with Beverly Jenkins and Brenda Jackson, like on Valentine's night. That's it. I'd be losing control of the authors. I can't do more, but just one.
Well, it's easier when it's two people. It makes it easier to balance. And we're approaching this. We started the same year. But we started in July.
Oh, cool.
And we are approaching our 500th guest.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
It'll probably be, we're past 470. So 500 is somewhere like May, maybe in there.
Y'all don't take no breaks.
Only time we've taken a break, I don't know if you heard about when we had the deep freeze in Texas, I know a couple of winters ago, when everything shut down. Even in the deep, because I'm in Houston, so even in the deep freeze, I was doing the show in my daughter's car because we didn't have power. So
that was hilarious because she called me. She said, "Rhonda, I'm not going to be able to do the show." I said, okay, well, I got you. And I'm getting ready to do the show. And all of a sudden, here comes Gwen sitting in the car like this.
And I said, I'm doing it from a remote location because that's the only way I could have power was in the car. And it was outside because, you can't do the car in your garage because, with the door closed, and we couldn't open the door. So my daughter's car was outside, mine was in the garage. But when you don't have power, if you open your garage, you can't close it back. Well, you can, but then it's not. Anyway, we've only had two shows that we didn't do.
One was election night.
Right.
Yeah, well, no, it's three, because one was election night of 2020. One was
I was
when
stuck
we
in front
both,
of that TV. I'm glad we didn't have a show that night.
yeah, but one was when we both went to Philly to the Zeta conference.
Yeah.
And then one night we had technical difficulties.
Wait a minute, wasn't there a holiday we took off? I don't remember which holiday it was.
We've never taken off a holiday.
We haven't.
Off the
I feel like there was one more. I could be wrong. Though. I know we took election night
Y'all
off.
are professionals.
In almost 3 years. That's and even when we had the technical difficulties, and we had to rebook people from that night to the following week. But it works. It's easier with two people, because if I can't be on, then Rhonda can do it, and if she can't be on, I can do it. But 95% of the time it's both of us.
Right.
Kudos all to you guys. That's a real VIP. I've been needing, my ADHD kicks in. I've been needing a break.
We keep going. It's always some new. It's always something new. And it's always something our audience wants to know about. And it never ends. It's new books coming out, and we do like what you're doing.
Right.
We have people on like that. We have coming up, it's called the Child to Child Book Foundation. And these are teenage girls. They're raising money and collecting books to send to schools in Africa. They're going to be on in next month, one day next month. And then
platform is it's well diverse. For us, it's just romance and romance.
Yeah.
You gotta
right. And but you have a niche within a niche.
Right.
Well, yeah.
With the romance that people who really love romances can really get into.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank God for that, because everyone loves romance. And like you said, there's so many authors coming up. It's so many up and coming romance authors that are just, they're awesome.
Doing great work. And then the people who've been writing for years are still writing.
Write some of that good stuff. I'd be like, girl, I thought you had wrote all this before. What, you got some new stuff up there in the old age of yours.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it, because I know Brenda Jackson has over 100 books.
150. Well, she's coming up on 150.
150, yeah. I mean, that's a lot of stories.
That's a lot of stories. Just her, Nora Roberts, Beverly Jenkins, oh my God.
It's a lot of characters. Now, the storyline for romance is kind of the same, the plot. I'm not really a romance reader, but I love that people who write it have a never-ending reservoir of ideas. I love that.
Yeah, me too. And there's always a little twist with it as well.
Yes.
Girl, let me just say, that dang on Joan Vassar have me on the floor.
Oh yeah,
hangover. I can.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, I'd be looking at her books like this, what's gonna happen next? But I cannot put it down. So there's so many plots and twists, like you were saying, with the romance world. It's the storyline, basically a lot of them, but some of them got them twists that had you and she one of them had me just oh my God. I love her.
Yeah,
I love a good plot twist, and I like it best when you can't see it coming. There's some some people don't set them up well, and you can see that something's coming a mile away. But I like it when all of a sudden, what did it come from?
Let me tell you, and that's how Joan Vassar, the Iris Bowers, that's how their books is. Joan book to have you be oh my God, the plot twist, and then they end up in bed. I'm like, yes.
Well, romance makes the world go round, so
that it does.
So that's just the way it is.
Yes.
So what made you come up with the idea, and what made you call it the Brown Book Series?
Well, I called it the Brown Book Series. So some people thought I called it that because I'm brown. I mean, I just so happen to be brown, so it worked out for me. But Mill and Booms, it's the homage to the publishing companies, Mill and Booms. back in the day, you know, everybody was on this whole cancel romance. It was smut, it's trash, no one is writing, no one is reading it. You shouldn't be writing it. And a lot of publishing companies started dropping the authors who wrote in that genre. And a lot of people didn't want to get the books because they was being scrutinized out in the public because they was reading those types of books. Well, Mill and Boone was like, well, listen, we gonna figure out a way. And they start binding all their books in brown binding covers. And so when people they'll be like, oh, you reading one of the little brown books, but you didn't know what it was. So, you know, they just thought, you're reading a little brown book. So I thought that was cool. So I'm just going to name it the Brown Book Series because, you know, to pay homage to the publishing company. Anybody who says that, you know, we're going to figure out a way to not stop your creativity, I like that. And so that's the way it came about.
Oh, well, see, I would have never thought of that. But they did, you know, they used to call it the brown wrappers. You know, years ago, people would get those books in the mail.
Yes.
And they would have a brown wrapper so nobody would know
exactly
what it was about.
Yeah, I like that. And so I was like, I think that'd be cool, you know, to just paying homage to them.
To like off limits kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
But
yeah, kind of, sort of, but yeah.
Kind of, sort of.
So tell us some of the, I know you said you had Beverly Jenkins and Brenda Jackson on, but tell us some of the other authors you've had on the show.
Wow, it's so many. Joan Vassar, Alexandra House. Shout out to all my indie girls. Hi. Iris Boland, Kennedy Ryan. We've had, oh my God, Scott Warren, Lydia Michaels. Who else? Reese Ryan, Karen Booth. It's been so many. We just had Pepper Winters. Oh my God, y'all help me out. When I say I know talk to some of everybody, I know talk to some of everybody. LaQuette, Piper Hughley. Piper Hughley was on Reese Ryan's show tonight too. It was awesome.
Was she on for her book by Her Own Design?
Yes. She's over there speaking all that knowledge. So I go over there.
I read that recently.
Oh yeah, yes.
It was that was my first book of hers that I read. Okay. I've been meaning to read some of her other books, but hadn't gotten around to it. But that one was very well done, and the fact that it was based on an actual person.
Right.
Exactly. So she's another one. Dr. Vanessa Riley comes with, you know, all
yes.
So who else? Farrah Rashawn.
Well, who's going to be on tomorrow?
Tomorrow is Rachel Van Dyken.
Okay.
Yes, she's going to be on tomorrow, and that is going to be absolutely wonderful. Then after Rachel Van Dyken, we have Kilby Blades coming up. Brittany Sherry's coming up. Brittany Sherry actually was on before, but she's coming up with her new stuff. We have so many people. A.L. Jackson. I can talk to a lot of people. Okay.
Well, you know, the romance writers, they can do 4 books a year sometimes, you know, releasing.
Yeah. Some of them can, and they just write so fast. Really
right. And a lot of the romance books aren't that thick, you know.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're not like a full-blown novel. It's a story, but they might be.
Well, the good thing about romance novels is that they have a very specific audience, and the audience wants the formula. They don't want you to deviate from the formula. Yeah. So as long as you stick to the formula, you can write your book pretty easily, and you're going to be able to resonate with your audience. But if you try to, I'm going to do it my way, they're not going to like that too much.
All day. You go, girl. I'm talking about.
Now, what's something that surprised you during your show, during the Brown Book series? What's something that's been surprising?
Something that's been surprising. Oh, I don't know, nothing really surprised me. I'd be like, I saw that. I don't know. I think some of the questions, so with some of the answers for some of the authors, it kind of surprised me a little bit because for me, when I see an author, I'm like, oh my God, they're New York Times, they're USA Today, they're bestseller. And then when you see them, they do interviews and it looks like their life is just beautiful. Like they ain't never cried a day in their life or anything. But then you see some questions like, what would you tell your 15-year-old self? and you have them sitting there thinking, all of a sudden one of them just start crying. You're like, oh, help, Lord. You know, so it's like so much. I think the surprising thing for me is what I learned about the authors that I did not know or never could have conceived, if that makes sense. So yeah, but everything else, you know, I don't. If one of them cussed, that's supposed to be a Christian author. One of them, you know, that kind of surprised me. I'm like, hold on now, Jesus. But oh, other than that, that's about it.
Well,
So,
maybe she was like Jesus turning the tables over in the temple. She got angry and she just let some stuff slip.
yeah, and I was cool with it, you know. But I was
Now,
like,
are there any male romance authors?
yes.
Okay, have you had them on your show?
Yes, I've had Mel Walker on the show. I've had Andrew Gray on the show. I love Mel. I love Andrew. I always mess up. Midnight takes him his name. His name is Keith, but I always get it mixed up with Keith Walker Thomas or Keith Thomas Walker. I get the last.
Keith Thomas Walker.
Yes, him.
Yeah. Okay.
Now
does he write romance? Because I thought he was more urban. Because we had him on a few months ago.
Well,
does he write romance or is he more?
I consider it. If you kiss somebody, I think it's romance.
Okay. But you know, not everybody sticks to one genre either. You know, they don't write just in one genre.
Well, this is true too, because like Iris Boland, she writes across the board.
Right. She does.
Patricia Sargent. They write across the board. Iris writes more, and she, you know, thriller. She got romance and stuff like that, and so does Patricia Sargent. But if they start out as being, if you know they're romance, they write romance. I consider you a romance author. You come over here and talk to us.
Well, yeah, for sure.
I mean, there's some relationship stuff going on in the books. You know,
it's some relationship stuff going on in the book. I think a lot of the stuff that people don't classify as romance is romance. Because it's like, okay, and everything, if you just guys think about it, just all of the different TV shows that we watch and that we love, is that romantic element within the show that we're like, okay, that's great, wonderful. When Sally go get with Joe, you know?
Yeah, so, to connect really the scenes, you know, from one day to the next, whatever happens at night.
That's what I want.
Or sometime in the afternoon.
Or in the morning.
On a lunch break.
Whenever.
Well,
so how do you promote your show? How do you promote your show on your Instagram?
Yes, I have a team. My team is absolutely wonderful. So we promote, I think they promote Instagram, they all across all social media platforms, Twitter, whatever left. They do everything. I think we just signed up actually for another platform today or this week, Spoutable. So it's like, and the Love, oh my God, the Love app. Are you guys on the Love app with Brain Power Studio, the Love family?
No.
What is that?
Okay, so
that's something new.
Yes, it's called the Love app. I'm gonna have to send it to you guys. It's all romance, all everything. Beth Stevenson, she's the CEO of Brain Power Studios, and they do like a lot of the Hallmark movies. They did the Murders Club with Toni Braxton that was on Lifetime. So now they have an app that's just for romance authors, editors, agents. It's so wonderful over there. It's like a whole romance world. So we go over there and we promote. So just across the board, we run ads, we do everything.
So it's an app like you get out of the App Store?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So
Love app.
Love app.
Love LUV app.
LUV. Okay.
I'm looking it up.
You gotta look it up. It's nice over there. It's all pretty and pink.
Okay.
Love app.
Going to
the Love app. So
Tony Benita said we had Keith Kareem Williams. We did, but we had Keith Thomas Walker. We had them both on the same night. Tony Benita would come in, so we had them the same night. Yeah. Mama Benita, you know her.
Don't get Mama Tony started. But listen, you have to do the Love app because Brain Power Studios, they was at Raw. We had in last year. One of the guys, Andrew Gray, we talked about a male author. They did pitch sessions, and he got picked up to get his movie. So they're now producing a movie because he got picked from his pitch. So they're awesome. You will have a good time over there on the app, and they doing everything.
So this is the what I'm looking at. It's an interactive app, right?
Yes, it's interactive. Yeah. All their movies are over there. You can pitch your books, you can pitch your movie screens, you can do all that.
I don't know if I'm looking at the same thing. This is what I'm seeing.
Let me see, girl. Hold on, let me see.
Is that it?
That's not it, is it?
Oh, she cute though, whoever that is.
Okay.
But that
LUV.
LUV. It's just pink. It has
All I'm getting is that lady.
Listen, I don't know what kind of lady you got over there. Hold on, you can see my. Oh Lord,
Yeah, let me see what it's supposed to look like.
It's pink and the letters are in white. So it has like, my
Love Romance. Does it say Love Romance? LUV-romance.
Click on that one and see what
it's pink.
It's pink, yeah. And are the letters white?
Yeah, the L is, the letters are white, the background's pink.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Is it only on iPhone or something?
No, it's everywhere.
Oh, wait.
That
one, the second one, yeah, not the neck laid up the top.
I'm
downloading that one, the neck laid on the top. I want to see whatever it is. But there's the one. It's the one.
This one.
That's it. Yes, it's the Romance Social Network.
Okay, I got it.
Yes, and go on.
Look, don't break up my happy home. If my boyfriend sees this love app on my phone, and he's like, "What's going on?"
Come on, tell me. No, that would be the one above that one. Then if you put that one down there, but the love would know. I'm telling you, you're gonna have a wonderful time over there. I absolutely love them. Like I said, they came to Raw and they took pictures for movies, and one of the guys, Andrew Gray, now they're making a movie out of one of his books, and it's awesome, and you'll have a good time over there.
Okay, thank you so much. You never know what this.
Yeah, I'm gonna be all in this app. This looks fun.
And our audience gets to learn something new if they didn't know about it already.
Yes, it's wonderful over there. There's different type of authors over there too, authors that I didn't even know about. Yeah, so I go over there and have me a good old time.
Okay, well, now are you still doing radio? Are you still a radio personality?
I'm still a radio personality. Right now I'm on hiatus. I'm just chilling because I wanted to focus on. I hope my boss ain't listening. I just wanted to focus on the Brown Book series and trying to get that off the ground, and try to make my passion my business, so I can kind of move on over there and be like, hey, broadcasting world, I'm going to be over here with the book people. So yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're off to an excellent start, or really not the start. You're in the middle because you started.
I'm in the middle
with the pandemic.
Started.
The pandemic birthed a lot of things, a lot of creative ideas.
It really did. It caused us to sit down and really be like, okay, whatever you thought you was going to do, and all this, I didn't have time to do this, and I don't have time. Now you have all the time in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I love how it all worked out for me. I just wished we could have been, with each other more, but the virtual just did me fine. As my grandma used to say, it did my heart well.
Yeah, 2020 wasn't a bad year for creators.
No,
right. No, it wasn't. Well, Shay, baby, now that's the name you go by. Do you tell people your real name?
Well, they know my Shay Bohannon, though. But Shay,
okay,
yeah,
Bohannon.
Yeah.
Are you related to the Bohannons? It used to be
in Arizona. Well, which ones?
I don't know. I can't remember the first name. But they used to be in music. They were musical. It was a musician. It was a man. It was a musician. Last name was Bohannon. But I can't remember the first name. It's been a while ago. But Bohannon's not a common name, so.
Is he cute? I don't know.
I don't remember all that.
Oh, you would remember if he was cute, right?
Then you would claim him.
She wasn't cute. She would remember if he was cute.
Right.
It's just been a long time ago. I can't remember. But anyway, thank you so much, Shay baby. And continued success. And thank you for letting us in on some stuff like the Love Social Network.
Yes, and thank you guys for having me. Continue to do all the great things that you guys are doing. I know I'm like check you out or catch you guys, and you guys are wonderful. Now just keep up the great work.
Thank you so much. We enjoyed talking with you. This was a good way to end the show, just on a good laugh.
Yeah, it
I
was.
enjoyed talking to y'all too. You Rhonda, don't play. Send me that app above the other ones.
Okay, well, you have a great night.
Thanks, same to you guys. Have a good one.
You
Okay.
too. Bye.
Well, this is the end of our show, and it was another great one. And we'll see you next week on Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson signing off.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Lawson. If you're in the DMV area, I will see you this weekend for Black History Month Literary Weekend.
Thank you for tuning in, and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.